All right. So up until this point, we have touched on how to navigate your way around Blender. We've also touched on the primitive modeling. So I'm going to take it a notch higher. So today we'll be moving into the edit mode. Up on the last video, we worked basically on the object mode. So now I want to take it a little step higher than that. So in the edit mode, that's where you have so many interesting tools that you can deconstruct your primitive model to suit what you want. But in the object mode, you are limited by what you have. Or um, in the edit mode, you can deconstruct the model to a very basic level. All right, so let's go. So let's start with the cube. For instance, let's do the cube. Like I said, the cube is a primitive model, likely at the lowest stage of ease. Well, let's now want to make this cube look much more interesting. Let's make this cube much more interesting. Let's give it some other new faces. So to do that, you come up here, edit mode. So in the edit mode, we have three ways to interact with our primitive model. And that is the vectors, the edge, and the faces. You can find them here. The first one is called vectors. The second one is called edge. The third one is called faces. So for the first one, vectors are this point here. This point here. They're like the most basic form or the most basic state of any object. That's a vector. They're like a dot in space. They're like dots in space. And from them, other things, other complexities come up. They're like a cell. A cell in a human for human in biology, a cell is like the smallest unit. And every other thing comes the system, the organs, everything generates from the cell. Yeah. So so we have this is vertex. So one is vertex, VERTEX, and more than one is called vertex, VERTICES. All right. So yeah, from vertex to when two vertices connect together, we have edge, which is the second one. So for the edge, this is here, this area here, all these are the edges. And then we have last one called when an edge, a complete cycle of edge is called a face. A face. A complete cycle of an edge is called a face. So we have the vertex. For the vertex, I can use the move tool, grab it, and then move it around to suit what I envisioning. And with the edge, same, similar to that, we can move it also around. And then with the face, similar to that also, we can move that also, or scale it, or do whatever. Now, now this is you manipulating the very primitive cube. So this is no longer a cube, this has changed its basic form. All right, let me Ctrl Z and return back to my normal cube. Now in the edit mode, there are many things that can be done in the edit mode. Many things that can be done. You can extrude, you can insert, you can bevel, you can loop cut. Now the cube has this cube is already set on how many edges? All these edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's say 12. 12 edges. So if I want to add more or want to manipulate it more in more detail, so let's assume I want to add more edges to this thing. Edges are this line. So I call them edge. Edges, all these lines are called edges. The lines that connect separated from two vectors. So a face is face is for one face is at least three three edges. That's the complete cycle of an edge to give you one face. So it can be three face or four face or five face. So most times in while we are working, we make sure it is four face. I'll explain that when we get to um when I start explaining, yeah, edge loops. When I start explaining edge loops, when I start explaining edge loops or topology, when I start explaining this called topology. When I start explaining face topology, you understand what I mean by 4, 5, 3, and the like. So for 3 is called trigon, for 4 is called quad, and for 5 or 4 we call them n-gons. So I'll get there. We'll get there eventually. So let's just keep on focus on this. So the first is, let's quickly explain one of the four basic loops. One of the four basic tools you use in your edit mode. The first one is your edge loop. The second is your inset. The third is your extrude, and the last one is your bevel. So for this class, for this video, I will just touch them at random. I'll do a separate video explaining them each one after the other. So you can know how to use them and how not to use them. So for this one, let's go with the edge loop. The first one is the edge loop cut. So I have a loop cut. Click, when you click once, you discover this property appears. So I can increase the loop to as many as I want. That is the function of this loop cut. Click on it once. Can increase the loop. So this loop helps us add more lines in case you want to have more detail on your object. You want to have more detail, you add more loop cuts to it. You want to have more details, you have more loop cuts to it. So the next one is called the inset. Now the inset is interesting in a way that, let's assume, let's move to the faces now. Let me click on this face now. Let me click on this face and zoom closer so you can see it. Now for the insets, you will discover that when I click on a face or more than one face, let me just select all these faces. Click on the first one, hold shift, and click on the rest. Now, while this proceeds, if you have any question, please feel free to let me know, and I'll do well to respond. All right. So I've selected the faces. So with this is called the inset face. For the inset face, I would apply new faces, as you can see, to this. Now, what is the use of this? There are times when you want to apply more detail or another, like a door. Yeah, want to create a door now in a new place. You use your inset face. You use your inset face to create that door, in that area. So we have this. You can also click on this middle area, and then same thing, we'll scale it down. So now I can delete this now. Using X and say faces. So it has given me that more like a window feeling. Okay, so you have access to see what is inside. Okay, so now if I want, now the next one is now called the extrude. So for the extrude, I can select same thing. Most of the time I use this for faces, but I can also use it for edges. I'll show you how to use it for edge very soon. Okay, so we have this. So let's say I want to push this inside a bit. So I'll go to the extrude, and then I will push it back. So you can see I've pushed this back, but I'm mindful. If I push it too far away, it can come outside. If I push a little bit, you notice that this is how far I pushed it. Yeah. So if I want to extrude these edges too, so I'll click on this, click on these areas. Please be careful of how you select. You notice that you can select something at the back. So select this, hold shift, and select the area. Always rotate. Don't be in a haste. Don't be in a haste. Just be careful and select around the areas you want. Yeah, select around the areas you want, and then extrude either in or out. Let's do in. Extrude in. Extrude in. Yeah. So I've extruded it in. So that is the extrude. Now Looking at this now, if peradventure what I need, this is already looking nice by the way. Let me click on this. Let me go to the faces. I can make this also look a bit more less than less like a complete box to something much more interesting or flatter by the way. So I move this and push this back a bit. Yeah, make that push back a bit. Okay, so let's move to the top. Now this top I can extrude this, or let's start with let's insert it first. Let's insert, pull it in a bit. Okay, then I'll go to select this area and move to my extrude, and then I can push it either up or down depending on what I want to achieve. But please, I'll be careful with it so that it won't jump. I can see that it can come out of the other side. So I can just I'll move a little bit. All this is based on what you're actually creating. Yeah. So I've gotten this. Now the last thing is now last one is called the bevel. Like I said, I will do a separate video explaining each and every one of them separately. So let's try to see. Let's put this a little bit backwards. I can also rotate it if I will give me what I want. Yeah, I'm gonna rotate it like this. Yeah. Feel free to experiment. All these are not set in stone. The beautiful thing about 3D is that you are allowed to experiment. You are allowed to experiment. Now, for the bevel, most of the time it works with edges. It works with edges. So I select all these edges, for example, all these edges. Yeah, all the edges. Let's use this all these edges. Yep, let's select the lower part too, or the outer edges first, or the outer edges, or the outer edges, including the outer side edges. Or the outer side edges. So please make sure as you are selecting, you are watching, so you don't select what you should not select or miss out on what you should select. All right, looking at it, things I'm good. So then I use my bevel, this one here, bevel, click on it, and then I drag. So if you notice, it's giving me this beautiful curve around. Then with that, I can this appears. Then I can increase this so that my curve is quite smooth. As opposed to if I reduce it now, you notice something. It's it looks like it looks 45 degrees, quite sharp. For the more of this segment I apply, the more smooth it is, which is what I'm going for. Let me change it back to the object mode so you can see what I'm talking about. So look at how it looks like. All these areas, see how sharp they are. They are not responding to light. And we'll fix that very soon. We'll fix that very soon. So all we need now is go back to the edit mode, and the short key is tab. With the tab, back to the edit mode. Then now we'll select the inner, we're going to select the inner areas, the inner loops. We select all the inner loops this time. Initially, we selected all the outer loops. Now we'll be selecting the inner loops, or the inner loop, inner edge 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 loop. That it will look much more interesting, and it will be able to bounce light around. So you click on the bevel. Oh, let me forget this. I'll start this one. Select, 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 select. Okay. Select, 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 select. Okay. Select, select. All right. So we move to the bevel and then we move it a bit. Please be mindful of how much bevel you apply. So it can look weird. Yeah. You apply to it. Let me go back to the top. Now look at it now. Now it's looking quite nice. It's looking quite nice. It's looking quite nice. Sorry about that. It's looking quite nice. So let's move to this area tab. Edit mode. Click on all the loops at this area. All the loops at this area. All the loops at this area. Be as careful and as gentle as you can be while clicking them. Just picture 3D as though you're going on a date. You have to be, sometimes being aggressive is a disadvantage because your date may not really love the aggressive type. So it's better to be less aggressive on your first date, and the more you get to know your date, the more you can choose to either be very aggressive or less aggressive. That depends on your mixing with that your specific date. For the first date, you are testing the waters, you are checking things out. Should I go too far? Should I something like that? Yeah, so that's it. You are quite careful and patient. 3D quite can be demanding and stressful in itself. So you notice while I'm stretching this, it's looking at it harming my edge flow. So I will try to reduce the amount of demand there so that it won't break the seal. Yeah, let me go back to this. Now look at it. Looking pretty nice. Yeah, looking pretty nice. So yeah, looking pretty nice. Then this back area, it's quite sharp. Let's go back to let's press the tab for edit mode. So that's the beauty of using the what we call it, what we call it, um, the loop. Sorry, not the loop, the bevel. The bevel is quite interesting in its own right if you know how to make it serve you. It's a tool of mastery in its own right. Yeah. So in our next video, we'll go deeper into explaining each and every one of those tools. For now, let's just enjoy it as it presents itself to us. Alright, so this is also nice on its own. So this, now you can still see that when I zoom closer, there are still some weird lines you're seeing. So you can, to remove those weird lines, you can right click and say shade smooth. But if this is giving you this, if you don't like the way it looks like, you can right click and use auto smooth. Right click auto smooth. So this should give you something, but and if what it will give you, you still don't like it, just go to flat, click on it, go to your wrench, your sub modifier, and click on subdivide. Then you got your subdivide, and then so that this sometimes can break your intention. I'll explain the reason why it's like this. Then just click this. The reason why it's like that is because of the edge flow. Okay, let's fix that together. So let's click on subdivide. So notice that giving us this curve that is here. So we just need some, we need, well, okay. So let's zoom closer. Notice it's giving us this curvy edge. Now this wireframe, this black line, if that is before we applied it. So when we apply the subdivide, you will notice this happens. So what we need to do is, if the is looking for something called a preserving edge, or a loop, that a defining loop. Yeah. So if I click on this edge loop, I move it here and I drag it up. You know that has defined that loop for me. So let's come down also, move down to this area, click on it and pull it down. Yeah. So that has given me basically what I want. And the top area is a bit messed up also. Let's fix that also. Click on this within the defining edge. Nice and nice. So we have what we are going for, and then voila. So we are good to go. We are good to go. So that's the edit mode. Now all what we did in the cube, we can do with any of the primitive objects, and then you don't always have to use one. Let's go to the edit mode back. So you don't always have to use just one shape or one mesh, or in the edit mode. In the edit mode, you can bring in another. Let's bring in, you can also when I press Shift A, you have all this list. You can bring in, for instance, the UV sphere, and then I scale it down, and then I move it up here. Yeah, move it here. So enable that. So you notice when I click on this, everything goes together exactly. So that's the beauty of using working in the edit mode, or whatever you create, just that every when you come out to the object mode, everything becomes one. So that's that about the edit mode. There's much more details I'll be touching as we progress in the class. So if you have any question, please do well to drop it, and we'll move from there. Thank you.